Most traders believe their biggest challenge is finding the right entry. Some believe it's timing, others believe it's the market itself. But the market has never been the problem. The real challenge has always been execution without emotional interference. Placing a trade is not a mechanical act, it is a psychological commitment. Every click represents a belief about risk, uncertainty, and self-trust. When hesitation enters, when second-guessing appears, when fear delays action, the issue is never the platform. It's the trader's relationship with uncertainty. The ability to place trades directly, cleanly, and decisively is not about speed or convenience. It is about alignment between intention and action. This is where most traders break down. Not because they don't know how to place a trade, but because they are not psychologically prepared to accept the outcome before they click. When execution becomes simple, the mind becomes visible. And when the mind is clear, the market stops feeling threatening. This is not about technology. This is about trusting your edge, accepting risk, and acting without emotional resistance. Execution is not a technical function of a trading platform. It is a psychological event that takes place at the exact moment a trader commits to uncertainty. The market does not require confidence, certainty, or comfort in order to move. It only requires participation. Yet for the trader, that moment of participation is where every belief about risk, self-trust, and outcome surfaces at once. What appears to be a simple click is actually the point where the mind either aligns with probability or rebels against it. Most traders believe their execution problems come from lack of speed, lack of tools, or lack of precision. They think if execution were smoother, faster, or more automated, consistency would naturally follow. But execution issues do not originate in the hands. They originate in the mind. The hesitation before a trade, the impulse to adjust an entry, the urge to wait for one more confirmation. These are not technical delays. They are psychological negotiations with fear. The market offers infinite opportunities, but the trader experiences each opportunity as unique and personal. This is the core illusion. Each setup feels different because the emotional context is different, not because the probabilities have changed. When a trader has recently experienced a loss, the next execution feels heavier. When a trader has experienced a win, execution may feel effortless or even reckless. The platform remains the same. The rules remain the same. Only the internal state has shifted. Execution reveals whether a trader truly accepts risk or merely tolerates it when it feels comfortable. Acceptance of risk means fully embracing the possibility of loss without emotional resistance. It means understanding that the outcome of any single trade is irrelevant within a series. Tolerance of risk, on the other hand, is conditional. It depends on recent results, confidence levels, and emotional energy. Conditional risk tolerance collapses under pressure, and execution breaks down precisely when it is needed most. This is why execution is the most honest mirror a trader will ever face. It does not lie. If a trader freezes, second guesses, or avoids pulling the trigger, it is not because the setup is unclear, it is because the trader has not fully accepted the implications of being wrong. The mind is attempting to protect itself from emotional discomfort, even if that protection sabotages long-term consistency. A technically perfect system cannot override psychological resistance. A trader can know exactly where to enter, where to exit, and how much to risk, and still fail to execute cleanly. Knowledge does not equal belief. Rules do not equal trust. Until the trader believes, at a deep, non-negotiable level, that losses are a natural and necessary cost of doing business, execution will always feel fragile. When traders say they missed the trade, what they usually mean is that they avoided the emotional exposure that execution requires. Missing a trade is rarely accidental. It is a subtle form of self-protection. By not entering, the trader avoids the possibility of immediate pain. But this avoidance comes at a cost, the erosion of self-trust. Each missed trade reinforces the belief that action is dangerous and hesitation is safety, even though the opposite is true for long-term success. Execution becomes effortless only when the trader no longer assigns personal meaning to individual outcomes. The moment a trade represents validation, redemption, or recovery, execution becomes emotionally charged. The trader is no longer executing an edge, they are seeking relief. And the market does not respond well to emotional demands. It only responds to participation aligned with probability. The irony is that traders often wait for confidence before executing, not realizing that confidence is a byproduct of execution, not a prerequisite. Confidence emerges when a trader repeatedly follows rules regardless of outcome. It is built through experience with uncertainty, not the absence of it. Waiting to feel confident before executing is like waiting for certainty in an uncertain environment. It guarantees paralysis. Clean execution requires mental neutrality. Neutrality does not mean indifference. It means the trader is emotionally detached from the result while remaining fully engaged in the process. The trader knows exactly what to do, does it without hesitation, and accepts whatever happens next without internal conflict. The state cannot be forced. It is cultivated through consistent exposure to risk with controlled expectations. Every time a trader executes according to plan, they reinforce a powerful internal message. I can trust myself to act correctly even when I don't know the outcome. That message is far more important than whether the trade wins or loses. Over time, this self-trust becomes the foundation of discipline. Discipline is not willpower. It is the natural behavior of a mind that no longer needs to protect itself from uncertainty. Technical tools can facilitate execution, but they cannot create it. Faster order placement, cleaner interfaces, and automated features only remove external friction. Internal friction remains until beliefs change. A trader with unresolved fear will find ways to sabotage execution no matter how advanced the platform is. The mind will always find a reason to hesitate if it believes hesitation equals safety. Execution also exposes the illusion of control. Many traders hesitate because they want to control the outcome before entering. They want confirmation that the trade will work. But the need for confirmation is the refusal to accept randomness. The market does not offer guarantees. It offers probabilities. Execution is the act of participating in those probabilities without trying to control them. Once a trader truly understands that nothing needs to happen on the next trade, execution loses its emotional weight. The trade is no longer a referendum on skill, intelligence, or worth. It is simply one occurrence in a long series. In that moment, the click becomes effortless because nothing personal is at stake. Consistency is not achieved by refining entries. It is achieved by refining beliefs. When beliefs align with the realities of probability, execution becomes automatic. There is no internal debate. There is no need to feel ready. The trader sees the opportunity, executes the plan, and moves on. Execution is the bridge between analysis and results, but it is built with psychology, not technology. Until a trader accepts this, they will continue searching for better tools to solve a problem that exists entirely within their own mindset. The moment they stop trying to control outcomes and start committing to correct behavior, execution transforms from a struggle into a natural expression of clarity. At that point, placing a trade is no longer a moment of fear. It is simply the next logical step in a process the trader trusts. And when execution is no longer emotional, the market loses its power to intimidate. The trader is no longer reacting. They are participating calmly, consistently, and without internal resistance. Direct execution eliminates emotional negotiation because it removes the space where fear tries to bargain with certainty. The moment a trader allows delay, the mind fills that delay with interpretation, memory, and imagined consequences. What begins as a simple opportunity quickly becomes an emotional conversation. The trader is no longer responding to the market as it is, but to the meaning the mind is assigning to the possibility of being wrong. Emotional negotiation is the silent process that happens between recognizing an edge and acting on it. It sounds rational on the surface. Let me wait for one more confirmation. Let me see how this candle closes. Let me reduce the risk just in case. These thoughts appear responsible, but they are rarely about improving probability. They are about reducing emotional exposure. The mind is searching for comfort, not clarity. The market does not pause to accommodate emotional readiness. Price moves whether the trader feels prepared or not. Direct execution aligns action with observation. It allows the trader to act at the moment the edge appears, without inviting the mind to reinterpret the situation through fear or hope. When execution is immediate, the trader has no time to argue with themselves. There is only recognition and response. Negotiation begins when the trader believes there is something to lose beyond the pre-defined risk. If the outcome of the trade feels personally significant, the mind attempts to protect itself by delaying action. This delay feels safe in the moment. but it creates long-term damage. Each time a trader negotiates instead of executing, they reinforce the belief that hesitation is protection and action is danger. Over time, this belief becomes automatic. Direct execution interrupts this pattern. It conditions the mind to associate action with neutrality rather than threat. When trades are placed immediately according to plan, the mind learns that nothing catastrophic happens as a result of decisive behavior. Losses occur, but they occur within known limits. Wins occur, but they are not clung to emotionally. The result is psychological balance. Many traders mistakenly believe that emotional control happens after execution. In reality, emotional control is a byproduct of removing the opportunity for emotional negotiation before execution. The longer the trader waits, the more emotional data the mind collects. Memories of past losses, recent wins, missed opportunities, and imagined futures all crowd the present moment. Direct execution prevents this accumulation. The platform itself is neutral. It does not cause fear or confidence. The trader's interaction with it reveals their internal state. When execution is delayed, it is because the trader is trying to resolve uncertainty emotionally before accepting it behaviorally. But uncertainty cannot be resolved. It can only be accepted. Direct execution is the behavioral expression of that acceptance. When traders say they need to feel right before entering, they are unknowingly asking for certainty in an environment that cannot provide it. Feeling right is not a requirement for correct action. Correct action is a requirement for long-term consistency. Direct execution bypasses the need to feel right and replaces it with the discipline of acting according to predefined rules. Emotional negotiation often disguises itself as analysis. Traders recheck indicators, redraw levels, and revisit higher time frames, not because the edge is unclear, but because clarity would force commitment. Analysis becomes a tool for avoidance when the trader is unwilling to accept risk fully. Direct execution removes the option to hide behind more information. There is a critical distinction between preparation and hesitation. Preparation happens before the market opens, when rules are defined and risk is accepted in advance. Hesitation happens in the moment, when the mind tries to renegotiate those rules based on fear. Direct execution respects preparation and ignores hesitation. It honors the plan rather than the emotion. Every moment of hesitation strengthens emotional habits that work against consistency. The mind learns that fear deserves attention and that rules are optional. Over time, this creates a fragile psychological structure where discipline only exists when emotions are calm. But the market is not designed to keep emotions calm. It is designed to test belief. Direct execution builds psychological strength by exposing the trader to uncertainty repeatedly without allowing emotional escape. This exposure is not reckless. It is controlled. Risk is defined. Position size is appropriate. The trader is not gambling. They are training their mind to remain neutral in the presence of uncertainty. The absence of negotiation also removes the illusion of control. Negotiation implies that if the trader thinks long enough, they can improve the outcome. This belief is false. Outcomes are random within a probabilistic framework. The only control the trader has is over behavior. Direct execution focuses attention on that control and abandons the rest. As direct execution becomes habitual, something profound happens. The market loses its emotional authority. Price movement no longer feels like a judgment. It feels like information. The trader stops reacting and starts responding. There is no internal debate because the decision was already made in advance. Consistency emerges naturally from this state, not because the trader is forcing discipline, but because there is no longer anything to negotiate. Rules are followed because they are trusted. Risk is accepted because it is understood. Execution is clean because it is immediate. Direct execution does not guarantee winning trades, nothing can, but it guarantees something far more valuable: alignment between intention and action. When a trader acts without emotional negotiation, they experience integrity. They know they did what they were supposed to do, regardless of outcome. This integrity builds confidence that cannot be shaken by short-term results. Over time, the trader realizes that emotional negotiation was never protecting them. It was keeping them stuck. The moment they stop negotiating with fear, they stop feeding it. Fear loses its influence not through suppression, but through irrelevance. There is simply no space left for it. Direct execution is not about speed. It is about decisiveness. It is the willingness to act without needing emotional reassurance. It is the recognition that the edge does not improve with delay, and that hesitation only serves the illusion of safety. When execution becomes direct, trading becomes simple. Not easy, but simple. The trader sees, acts, and accepts. There is no drama in the process, no internal struggle, just participation in probability. And in that simplicity, the trader finds freedom. Freedom from self-doubt, freedom from second-guessing, and freedom from the endless cycle of emotional negotiation. The market remains uncertain, but the trader no longer needs it to be anything else. Confidence is not something a trader brings to the market. It is something the trader earns through behavior. The belief that confidence must come before action is one of the most damaging misconceptions in trading. It creates a psychological trap where the trader waits for an internal feeling that can never exist in an environment defined by uncertainty. The market does not reward readiness of emotion. It responds only to participation. Before the click, the mind is exposed to possibility. Possibility invites imagination, and imagination amplifies fear. Every scenario becomes vivid: loss, embarrassment, regret, and missed opportunity. In this state, confidence cannot exist because confidence requires evidence, and evidence can only be generated after action. Expecting confidence before execution is like expecting certainty before probability. It contradicts the nature of the environment. The click is the moment where belief becomes behavior. It is the moment where the trader stops thinking about what might happen and commits to allowing whatever happens. That commitment cannot be emotionally comfortable by design. If it were comfortable, risk would not exist. The discomfort traders feel before execution is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that they are standing at the edge of growth. Most traders interpret discomfort as danger. They assume that fear means something is wrong with the setup, the timing, or their readiness. In reality, fear simply means the outcome is unknown. When traders avoid the click to escape discomfort, they unintentionally teach the mind that fear is something to obey. Each avoided trade strengthens hesitation and weakens self-trust. Confidence emerges only after the trader sees themselves act correctly despite uncertainty. When a trader executes according to plan and accepts the result, win or loss, the mind records a powerful lesson. I can follow my rules without needing certainty. This lesson builds internal stability. Over time, that stability becomes confidence. There is a crucial distinction between emotional confidence and structural confidence. Emotional confidence depends on recent results. It rises after wins and collapses after losses. Structural confidence is built on repeated correct behavior. It remains stable regardless of outcome. Structural confidence is the only kind that survives in the market. The click itself is neutral. It does not create success or failure. It reveals alignment or misalignment between intention and belief. Traders who hesitate are not lacking courage. They are lacking evidence that they can trust themselves. And that evidence can only be created by executing and observing that survival does not depend on being right. Every trade placed according to plan is a psychological deposit. It does not matter if the trade wins or loses. What matters is that the trader honored their process. Over time, these deposits accumulate into a deep sense of reliability. The trader knows, not hopes, that they will act correctly again in the future. That knowing is confidence. Waiting for confidence before executing reverses cause and effect. It turns confidence into a prerequisite instead of a result. This reversal guarantees inconsistency because confidence fluctuates, but rules do not. Traders who rely on feelings will always be at the mercy of their emotional state. The market repeatedly offers opportunities to practice trust. Each setup is an invitation to act without assurance. The trader who accepts this invitation grows stronger psychologically. The trader who declines remains stuck in preparation mode, mistaking inaction for safety. Confidence is also misunderstood as the absence of fear. In reality, confident traders still experience fear. The difference is that fear no longer dictates behavior. It exists in the background without influence. This is not achieved through mental suppression, but through repeated exposure. The mind learns that fear does not predict outcome and does not need to be obeyed. After the click, something important happens. The trader has nothing left to decide. The trade is either working or not, and both outcomes were already accepted. This mental closure brings clarity. The emotional tension that existed before execution dissolves because the decision is complete. The trader is free to observe rather than react. This post-execution clarity is where confidence begins to take shape. The trader experiences themselves as capable of commitment. They see that uncertainty did not destroy them. Even losses become constructive because they reinforce resilience rather than self-doubt. The irony is that traders often feel more confident after a loss that was executed correctly than after a win that was entered impulsively. Correct losses build trust. Undisciplined wins undermine it. The market teaches this lesson repeatedly, but only those willing to listen internalize it. Over time, the trader stops asking, "Do I feel confident enough to take this trade?" and starts asking, "Does this meet my criteria?" This shift marks the transition from emotional trading to professional behavior. Confidence no longer needs to be summoned. It is embedded in the process. The click becomes routine, not careless, but calm. There is no drama in execution because there is no expectation placed on the outcome. The trader understands that consistency is not about predicting correctly, but about behaving consistently. Confidence built this way is quiet. It does not seek validation. It does not disappear after a losing streak. It exists because the trader has proven through action that they can be trusted. This trust extends beyond trading. It reshapes how the trader approaches uncertainty in general. Eventually, the trader realizes that confidence was never missing. It was simply misplaced. It was being sought in feelings instead of behavior. The moment the trader commits to acting first and allowing confidence to follow, everything changes. The market remains uncertain. Outcomes remain random. But the trader is no longer waiting for permission from emotion. Each click reinforces a simple truth. Confidence is not found before action. It is built after it, one disciplined decision at a time. Trading mastery is not achieved through better tools or stronger emotions, but through correct behavior repeated over time. Execution without negotiation, action without the need for confidence, and acceptance of risk before every click are what transform uncertainty into clarity. When the trader commits to the process and releases attachment to outcomes, consistency becomes natural. The market does not reward prediction, it rewards alignment. And in that alignment, confidence, discipline, and trust emerge effortlessly, not before the trade, but because the trader chose to act correctly in the presence of uncertainty.